Hello, my name is Alan Sirkin, and I was a student of Dr. Mantell's in 1967. I learned from him that being an engineer is more than a degree or a profession. It is a way of life, a way of thinking, of seeing things both logically and orderly. Professor Mantell teaching had a profound impact on my life. I first met Professor Mantell in 1965 when I took his structural analysis course as a young engineering student. This class was very complex and difficult, and the textbook was one that he had written himself. About halfway through the semester, he called me into his office and told me that I was not doing well and was not good enough to be an engineer. I guess I had not worked hard enough, and he scared the heck out of me. After that talk, I realized it's a tougher profession than I had anticipated, and I was going to graduate. I needed to give up my social life, which I did. Fortunately, I passed the class, but I have to say, not with a great grade. Looking back, I realized that Dr. Mantell expected extreme excellence from his students. To him, engineering was a noble profession of the highest caliber, and he would not stand for mediocrity. I was thankful for his tough love and stringent requirements that forewarned me about the need for hard work that is necessary to succeed in life during school and after graduation. The next year, I had to take a second course taught by him. This one was called Ethics and Professionalism and included economics, investing, and again, he had written the textbook. I came to appreciate his diligent work. The course was not as hard as the prior one and was actually fun. Again, he expected his students to be highly ethical and well respected. The part about investing money was new to me, and to this day, I appreciate what he taught about compound interest, present value, and investing money. As a part of the class, he had us research and write a paper about engineering. I wrote mine about zoning and economic development. At that time, the college had a magazine called the Miami Engineer. To my amazement, Dr. Mantell submitted my paper and it was published in the magazine. I really felt that he had come to appreciate me as a student, even though I was not that solid in structural analysis. Dr. Mantell was not just a university professor, but an example of a caring life. He had written many books and participated in professional associations and was president of the Miami chapter of the ASCE. He is a prime example of a life well lived. Murray, in his 90s, would sometimes call me to suggest things that he was concerned about at the college. He never stopped his commitment to excellence at the College of Engineering and the Civil Engineering Department. I have been successful in the field of construction and real estate, in large part because of what he taught and demanded. I am thankful for the education that I received at the University of Miami, and I know many of his students have gone on to become well-respected engineers in South Florida and around the world. We should all be thankful for Murray's life of learning, education, and involvement. Goodbye, Professor. Thank you for all you did for us, and I hope you find a great university in the sky. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Juan Fernandez Barquin, and I graduated from the University of Miami in 1976 from civil engineering. Dr. Mantell changed my life. Sometimes you go through life not knowing that you have met greatness. I was one of the lucky ones that indeed recognized that I was in the presence of greatness the day I met Dr. Mantell. He also changed the lives of hundreds of other students that studied civil engineering at the University of Miami. His door was always open. He was approachable, kind, and generous with all his students. Through his quiet guidance and love for his students, he built a strong civil engineering program that has endured to this very day. He loved the university so much that A year ago this past November, at the age of 102, he attended the College of Engineering alumni breakfast. This was the last time I saw him. I was fortunate to have met Dr. Mantell on a day that I visited the university to inquire about the civil engineering program. He was very generous with his time, even though I was not even a student and was not even sure about what engineering discipline to pursue. He sat with me for a long time, reviewed all of the different specialties within the civil program, and at the end of my visit, he inquired about my grades in Miami-Dade Junior College. My grades were good, and he offered me a scholarship that changed the course of my life forever. He was my advisor and my mentor. I took several classes with him, steel design and ethics and professionalism. As a professor, he was very challenging. I will be eternally grateful to Dr. Mantell and the University of Miami for the opportunity to have attended the school. I rewarded his faith in me by graduating first in my class. Years ago, the Dr. Mantell Scholarship Fund was created at the University of Miami, and I encourage all of you to make a generous contribution to this very worthy cause. It offers financial aid to people like myself from very humble beginnings to attend a university. May he rest in peace and may God bless. For the record, I have committed to donate $5,000 per year for 5 years to Dr. Mantell Scholarship Fund. I made this initial commitment about 3 years ago. Initially, it was for a total of $25,000. However, I will now donate $5,000 every year for as long as I have breath in me. Thank you, and God bless.
We last gathered in the chapel at the Hillel House 11 years ago for a memorial for Rose Mantell, Dad's beloved wife of 65 years, and our mother and grandmother. It was Dad's wish that both of their memorials be held at the University of Miami, where outside of family life, they both spent over 60 wonderful years. Dad as Professor Emeritus and founding chair of the Department of Civil Engineering, and Mom as a later in life graduate of the university and an active member of the University of Miami's Women's Club. At that memorial service, Dad officiated and gave a beautiful opening address. He said poignantly after Rose died that he didn't know how he would go on and live in their empty house. However, he remarked that he had a most unusual experience, unlike anything he had ever experienced before. 5 hours of revelations that answered every question he had about death, the soul, the afterlife. After those revelations, he became secure in the knowledge that there was a life hereafter. And as an extremely rational and logical engineer, he emphasized that he didn't accept proof easily. In subsequent years, Dad continued his inquiries into the nature of the afterlife. I checked out from the FIU library probably 40 books on the topic from a variety of world religions and thinkers. He read them all, complaining that most of the books did not provide enough detail. I asked him jokingly if he wanted to know if he could use his daily calendar, where he kept a meticulous to-do list and a schedule of activities. Eventually, he formulated a cosmological worldview that gave him much comfort. Dad was not afraid of death, secure in the belief that he would be reunited in the afterlife with his beloved wife, Rose. I have learned many things from my father, but perhaps most of all, I received a great lesson in how to grow old with grace and dignity. In the final year of his life, when he began to lose his sight and had lost his independence, he lay for hours calmly in his recliner, drifting in thought, or perhaps deep in meditation. He never complained and accepted his limitations with grace, was kind and cooperative with all. All the caretakers who assisted in his last year marveled at how sweet and how so very peaceful he was. At the end of Dad's essay on death and the soul in his book, Handbook for Living, he quotes Socrates, a favorite mentor. No evil can happen to a good man, either in life or after death. Instead of being afraid to die, one should be afraid of not having begun to live. And live he did, writing 10 books, devotedly mentoring hundreds and hundreds of students, raising a family of 4 children, and engaging in dozens of civic, educational, and environmental projects. At 92 years old, he helped to found a charter school devoted to character education, modeled after Socrates' ideals. At 94, he revised and expanded his earlier Handbook for Living and wrote Ethics and Discourse on Living. In his late 90s, he embarked on a crusade to help with world peace, sharing his ideas with many established organizations and individuals. And at 101, he began to write his 11th book, A Metaphysical Dictionary. But it was character, not accomplishments, that Dad valued above all. And his character defined him as he lived a life of impeccable honor and integrity. Once a semester, Dad would come into my class at FIU to lecture on ethics, even at 100 years old. He was using a walker at that time to steady himself. When I strongly suggested he sit down for the lecture, he replied emphatically, "I have never given a lecture sitting down." As his nervous daughter watched, he stood upright at the lectern and proceeded to give a 50-minute lecture with only a few glances at his notes, and then fielded difficult ethical questions from the students for the remaining 25 minutes of class. The students were mesmerized and inspired, and always asked what his secret for long life was. He cited 6 things: be positive, eat healthy, exercise, minimize stress, and most importantly, help others. And citing the Stoic philosophy he so admired in Dad's essays on needs versus wants, the path to happiness may be found by reducing one's wants. Unhappiness comes when one's wants are not realized. Dad always said, focus on your needs and minimize your wants. I cannot think of any material thing, not cars, clothes, that Dad ever wanted or bought for himself. Were it not for our mother, a connoisseur of all fine things, Dad would have been content with several pairs of pants, a few shirts, and probably orange crates for tables. He was happiest when engaged in a passion project, absorbed for endless hours with his stamp collection, which he began when a young boy and reading newspapers and books, especially his treasured collection of the great books of the Western world. Socrates wrote, "Having the fewest wants, I am nearest to the gods." So I suspect Dad is now happily walking hand in hand with his beloved wife, dialoguing with the great ones he so admired and emulated: Gandhi, Epictetus, Socrates, Plato, Kant, Moses, Jesus, Buddha, and others, still helping those he meets in heaven and here on earth. Thank you.